At 65, I've found myself withdrawing from people more than I ever did before. This might seem odd to some, but there's a reason behind this shift. Reaching this stage in life brings about a significant change in perspective. It alters the way we view relationships, time, and our purpose in this world. When I was younger, I was the person who always showed up, ready to support friends, family, neighbors, anyone who needed me. It felt good to be that person. But as the years went on, I started to realize something. Not every relationship is worth the energy it takes to sustain it. As I look back, I've come to understand that stepping away from certain people and situations isn't about harboring bitterness or resentment. It's about protecting my inner peace, valuing my time, and focusing on what truly matters. If you've ever found yourself in a similar place, you're not alone. Let me share the lessons I've learned that led me to make this choice. From how time becomes so much more valuable as we age, to how relationships naturally shift, and even why I now see solitude as a source of joy rather than loneliness. This shift in perspective has brought clarity and contentment in unexpected ways. When I was younger, it felt like there was an endless supply of time. The days seemed long and filled with possibilities. We spent hours chatting about trivial things, maintaining relationships that didn't really bring us joy, or fulfilling obligations out of guilt. But as the years pass, something becomes crystal clear. Time is not infinite. It is finite, and every moment feels like a precious gift. This realization doesn't come from fear, but from wisdom. The wisdom that comes with living through experiences and seeing how quickly time can slip away. Now, I think carefully about how I spend each day. I no longer waste hours on meaningless conversations or relationships that drain me. Time has become my most valuable resource, and I treat it like the treasure it is. The change wasn't sudden. It came slowly, a gentle unfolding of awareness. Every sunrise feels more vibrant. Every meaningful conversation carries a deeper connection. And even quiet moments like drinking a cup of coffee or taking a walk in the park are filled with significance. I've learned that not every moment or person deserves a place in my life. It's not about being selfish. It's about being practical. As I've gotten older, I've learned to step back and ask myself, does this situation bring me joy? Does it align with my values? If the answer is no, I let it go. I've come to realize that time spent on things that don't matter is time stolen from the things that do. One of the ways I've embraced this philosophy is by simplifying my relationships. I don't feel the need to accept every invitation or engage in shallow conversations simply to be polite. Instead, I seek out deeper connections, relationships where I can be myself and where the other person values my time as much as I value theirs. I find that a quiet, meaningful conversation over tea is far more fulfilling than being part of a large, crowded gathering where I feel invisible. This isn't about isolating myself. It's about honoring the life I have left and making it count. Time has become a trusted companion, urging me to slow down, savor the moments I once rushed through, and choose wisely. Every choice now carries weight, and it's comforting to know that it's okay to let go of what no longer serves me. If you find yourself in a similar position, I want to reassure you, you're not alone. There's no handbook for navigating this stage of life. But here's what I've discovered. It's not about how much time you have left. It's about what you do with it. Protect it fiercely. Fill it with purpose, peace, and people who truly uplift you. Once you start treating time as the precious resource it is, everything changes. Your life shifts into something richer, more fulfilling. Relationships, too, change over time. At 65, I've come to accept a difficult truth. Not every relationship is meant to last a lifetime, and that's okay. This isn't a failure. It's simply part of life's natural flow. When I was younger, I believed that every relationship required constant effort to maintain. I made sure to attend every birthday party, show up at every gathering, and reach out even when I was drained. I thought that being there for everyone made me a good friend, neighbor, or family member. But as the years went on, I began to realize something. Not all relationships are created equal. Some relationships nurture us, while others drain us. And that's okay. This change didn't happen overnight. It came through years of experience, some wonderful, some painful. There have been moments when I've been hurt by people I trusted, disappointed by those I relied on, and even distanced from family members whose lives simply moved in different directions. For a long time, I took these losses personally. I questioned what I did wrong or whether I could have tried harder to hold on to those connections. But now, I see things differently. People change, and I've changed too. And sometimes, the kindest thing we can do for ourselves, and for others, is to let go. One of the most freeing lessons I've learned is that healthy relationships are built on mutual respect and support. It's no longer about giving endlessly without receiving anything in return. A relationship should be balanced. Does this person support me as much as I support them? Do they listen as much as they speak? Do they bring light into my life or take it away? I've come to understand that it's okay to let go of relationships that no longer align with who I am today. It doesn't mean I don't look back with some nostalgia or wonder about the people I've lost touch with. But instead of regret, I feel gratitude. Those relationships shaped me, taught me lessons, and gave me memories that I'll always cherish. They were part of my journey, even if they're not part of my present. So, here's what I want to share with you. Don't hold on to relationships out of guilt or obligation. Life, like relationships, is meant to evolve. Focus on the ones that bring you peace and joy. Let go of the ones that don't. By doing so, you'll create space for love, authenticity, and the kind of meaningful connections that truly make life worth living. Trust, too, becomes more complex as we age. When I was younger, I trusted easily. I believed in the goodness of people and gave my loyalty freely. But as the years have passed, I've learned that trust is a fragile thing. When it's broken, it leaves scars that can take a long time to heal. I've been let down by people I never thought would hurt me, friends, family, colleagues, and those experiences have changed how I approach trust. It doesn't make me bitter, but it does make me more cautious. Now, when someone new enters my life, I don't immediately think, how can I connect with this person? Instead, I ask myself, what are their motives? What is their true intention? Trust is no longer something I give freely. It's something that must be earned. This doesn't mean that I expect perfection from others, but it does mean I'm careful about who I let into my circle. I've learned that trust is not something to be taken lightly, and once it's broken, it can take years to rebuild. As I've grown older, I've come to realize that trust isn't just about relying on others. It's just as important to trust yourself. Learning to trust my own instincts has been one of the most pivotal lessons I've learned in my life. In the past, when something didn't feel right, I'd dismiss it as paranoia or overthinking. But now, I've learned to listen to those inner nudges, and if something feels off, I trust my gut. This has led me to walk away from relationships that felt toxic, no matter how long they had been a part of my life. I've come to understand that protecting my peace is worth making the difficult decision to let go. That said, trust is still possible, but it's evolved. There are still moments when people surprise me in the most positive ways, like a kind stranger going out of their way to help, or a neighbor checking in on me during bad weather. These small, genuine gestures remind me that while trust might be harder to give, it's not impossible to rebuild. The key is balance. It's about setting boundaries, not walls. It's about giving trust gradually to those who earn it over time. It's about keeping your circle small and surrounding yourself with people who consistently show kindness and respect. If you find yourself being more guarded as you get older, know that it's okay. protecting your trust is an act of self-care. It doesn't mean you're shutting yourself off from others. It means you value yourself enough to be selective about who you allow into your life. And at this stage, that's exactly how it should be. As I've reached this stage in life, the world around me has changed in ways that are hard to ignore. Life feels faster, more chaotic, and more driven by technology than ever before. Yet, for all the progress and convenience, something important has been left behind: a sense of warmth, simplicity, and human connection. I grew up in an era where relationships felt genuine. Neighbors weren't just people who lived nearby, they were friends. We'd visit each other without the need for an invitation, sharing coffee, stories, and laughter. Family gatherings were a regular thing, not because we had to, but because we wanted to be together. Time spent with loved ones felt natural and meaningful. Now, life is different. People are constantly chasing success, managing endless to-do lists, and trying to keep up with the fast pace of modern living. Conversations that were once heartfelt and deep have become brief and rushed, squeezed in between notifications and distractions. Even family time feels more strained, often limited by physical distance or competing demands. Technology, while offering many blessings, has also played a part in this shift. I appreciate being able to video call my grandchildren or reconnect with old friends via social media, but these tools often create a barrier between us. Nothing compares to sitting face-to-face with someone, feeling their presence, and hearing their voice without a screen in between. Sometimes I long for the simplicity of just being together without the interruptions of modern life. The constant noise from technology, endless notifications, updates, and news can feel overwhelming. Ironically, even with all these ways to stay connected, many of us feel more isolated. It's strange how we can have so many ways to communicate, but still struggle to form genuine connections. This isn't about resisting change or wishing for the past. Every era has its challenges, and every generation adapts. But at 65, I find myself craving simplicity more than ever. I choose to step back from the noise and focus on what truly matters: meaningful conversations, real relationships, and the quiet joy of shared moments. If you feel the same, it's okay to slow down. It's not about rejecting modern life, but about choosing where to invest your energy. By stepping back from the rush, we can protect the parts of life that are authentic and real. Seeking simplicity isn't about giving up. It's about holding on to what matters most. Another realization I've had is the difference between solitude and loneliness. These two are often confused, but they are entirely different things. Loneliness is the ache that comes from longing for connection, a feeling of emptiness. Solitude, however, is a conscious choice, a space for peace, reflection, and renewal. It's not something to fear, but something to embrace. Through solitude, I've found clarity that's hard to achieve amidst the rush of daily life. There's a deep beauty in simple, quiet moments. Sitting on the porch with a warm cup of tea, listening to the wind rustle through the trees, or watching the sun set slowly beneath the horizon. These moments don't just pass the time, they enrich it, reminding me of the small joys that life has to offer. Spending time alone has also allowed me to reflect on the past in a way that brings comfort. Instead of focusing on mistakes or missed opportunities, I now look at the lessons I've learned and the happy memories I've created. Solitude provides space to look inward and make peace with the life I've lived. It gives me the chance to feel gratitude for the person I've become. That's not to say I've withdrawn from people, quite the opposite. Solitude has actually deepened my appreciation for the relationships I have. It has allowed me to focus on meaningful connections, rather than maintaining relationships out of obligation or habit. When I do spend time with loved ones, I'm more present and engaged, savoring every moment. Solitude has taught me to value myself. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that your worth is defined by how many people you're surrounded by, or how many events are on your calendar. But the truth is, your value comes from within. It comes from knowing who you are and what matters to you. If you've ever feared being alone, I encourage you to rethink that perspective. Solitude isn't a punishment. It's a gift. It's an opportunity to listen to your own thoughts, to focus on what brings you peace, and to reconnect with yourself. The more you embrace it, the more you'll realize that solitude is a source of strength and clarity. In the quiet of solitude, you can find balance and joy, letting go of distractions and pressures, and focusing instead on the life you want to live. It's not about isolation, it's about intention. And in those still moments, you may discover a deeper sense of fulfillment than you ever imagined. I've also learned to avoid people when necessary, not out of bitterness or resentment, but to protect my peace. Over the years, I've realized that not every connection is worth maintaining, and not every social obligation deserves my time or energy. For much of my younger years, I believed I needed to always be available. I wanted to be the reliable friend, the helpful neighbor, the supportive family member. And while that brought me joy at first, it also left me feeling drained. I gave too much of myself to relationships that weren't reciprocal, and to situations that didn't align with my values. Life has a way of teaching us when and where to draw the line, even if it takes a while to learn. I've had moments when my kindness was taken for granted, or when my time was treated as though it had no value. I ignored red flags, thinking that loyalty meant staying, even when it was chipping away at my happiness. But now, I see things differently. I've learned that it's okay to step back from relationships or situations that don't nurture my well-being. Protecting my peace is no longer a choice. It's a necessity. Letting go of certain people isn't about being selfish. It's about self-preservation. There's a unique peace that comes from distancing yourself from toxic relationships and from releasing obligations that no longer serve you. I've learned that there's a profound satisfaction in choosing solitude over the chaos of endless social interactions. Instead of stretching myself thin trying to meet everyone's expectations, I've narrowed my focus to a smaller circle of meaningful relationships that bring genuine joy and fulfillment. This doesn't mean I've completely shut myself off from the world. The people who remain in my life are those who genuinely care, not because they need something from me, but because our connection is rooted in mutual respect and understanding. These relationships feel natural, unforced, and effortless in the best way. There's no drama, no competition, just real and sincere connections. I've also learned to distance myself from people who bring negativity into my life. Those who seem to thrive on drama, are constantly complaining, or who never take the time to ask how I'm doing. These people no longer have a place in my world. I've come to understand that prioritizing my own well-being doesn't make me selfish. It's a way of protecting my peace. Sometimes that means saying no more often, or choosing time alone rather than in the company of people who drain me. Choosing to distance myself from certain individuals isn't a rejection of humanity. Rather, it's a way of valuing myself enough to safeguard my mental and emotional health. It's about fostering relationships that lift me up, not tear me down, and seeking experiences that truly matter. Life is far too short to spend time on things that don't bring joy. Through this process, I've discovered a sense of freedom and happiness I never thought possible. Perhaps you've felt the same way. Have you ever wondered if you're the only one who feels this way? As I've grown older, I've asked myself that question countless times, especially as I've become more selective about the people I allow into my life. The more I talk to others my age, the more I realize that I'm not alone in this. This isn't just my story, it's a shared experience. Life has a way of teaching us valuable lessons about relationships, priorities, and self-worth. For years, I tried to meet the expectations of others. I wanted to be the dependable friend, the supportive family member, the neighbor who was always there. But eventually, I recognized the cost of that mindset. I was pouring so much of myself into others that there was little left for me. As I've talked with friends and peers, I've realized that many of us reach a point where we no longer feel the need to be everything to everyone. We start to choose quality over quantity when it comes to relationships. The shallow, superficial connections that once seemed so important no longer hold the same appeal. What we long for now are deeper, more meaningful conversations, shared moments of laughter, and relationships that feel real. This shift isn't easy. Sometimes it feels like letting go of parts of yourself. Saying no to people who once depended on you can feel selfish, but in truth, it's self-preservation. The reality is that we cannot be everything to everyone, and trying to do so only leaves us feeling drained and bitter. By stepping back, we create room for the kinds of relationships that nourish us rather than deplete us. And here's the reassuring truth. You're not alone in this. People in their 60s, 70s, and beyond are making similar choices. It's not about pushing people away. It's about finding peace and clarity. It's about prioritizing your well-being and focusing on what truly matters. If you found yourself pulling away from relationships that no longer serve you, it's not a sign of something wrong. It's a sign that you're growing, evolving, and learning to respect your time and energy. Letting go of what no longer brings joy clears the path for deeper, more meaningful connections. This phase of life isn't defined by how many people surround you. It's about the quality of those relationships. If any of this resonates with you, take comfort in knowing that you're not walking this journey alone. We're all learning to embrace a simpler, more fulfilling life that's authentic and unapologetic. As I've reached this stage, I've come to see that life isn't about endings, but beginnings. Every new chapter in life brings lessons, challenges, and new joys. At 65, I realized that this period isn't about proving anything to others. It's about embracing who I've become. It's about letting go of what no longer serves me and focusing on what truly matters. There's a certain kind of freedom in this realization. When we're younger, there's often a sense of urgency, always rushing to achieve more, to do more, to meet the expectations of others. We're driven by the belief that the future holds infinite possibilities, so we keep chasing. But as time passes, we come to understand that the present is what truly matters. The richness of life is found in the moments, the small things, not the endless striving. This stage of life is about simplicity. It's about savoring the small moments, watching the sunlight spill into a room, laughing with loved ones, or simply sitting quietly in a favorite chair. These moments, seemingly insignificant, hold a depth that's hard to describe. They remind us that life's treasures are often found in its simplest pleasures. It's also a time for reflection. Looking back, I see my life as a collection of experiences, some beautiful, some painful, but all significant. Each triumph, mistake, and heartbreak has shaped me into who I am today. Reflection allows me to honor those experiences without clinging to them. It's not about living in the past. It's about appreciating the lessons it gave me. But this time isn't just about looking back. It's also about looking ahead. There's a quiet excitement in knowing that there's still time to create, to learn, to grow. Whether it's trying a new hobby, nurturing a garden, or simply appreciating the present, this stage offers its own unique opportunities. What makes this chapter so beautiful is the freedom it brings. The freedom to say no to what drains you and yes to what brings peace. The courage to live authentically without fear of judgment or the pressure to meet others' expectations. And the realization that just being is enough. If you're in this stage of life, I encourage you to embrace it fully. Let go of the noise and the rush. Focus on what brings you joy. Life doesn't have to be perfect to be meaningful. Sometimes the most peaceful and fulfilling moments come when we stop chasing and start appreciating. This chapter is yours to write. Make it one of simplicity, gratitude, and true happiness. So, in closing, avoiding certain people at this stage isn't about shutting the world out. It's about protecting the peace we've worked so hard to find. Life at 65 is about focusing on what truly matters: meaningful relationships, moments of joy, and inner calm. It's not about bitterness or regret. It's about living intentionally. This chapter of life is about embracing simplicity, authenticity, and gratitude. The lessons we've learned, though sometimes painful, have led us to a place of clarity and fulfillment. If you've been feeling the same way, remember, it's okay to choose peace over chaos. It's okay to prioritize yourself. The true richness of life comes from the quality of your days, not the quantity of your commitments. Let this be the chapter where you live boldly, love deeply, and savor every moment. I hope this video has inspired you to embrace this stage of life with courage and joy. Keep coming back for more.